Hey, this is Nate Wells.
And this is Drew Cove.
Check out our podcast, that Go for Hockey podcast, for the latest news and updates on University of Minnesota hockey. You can find us on iTunes, and we're also on the Zone Coverage Podcast Network.
That's elite.
The Zone Coverage Podcast Network.
They may be drinkers, Robin, but they're also human beings.
Hell yeah, let's get Stinko.
Giles and Goalie Podcast. I am your host, Giles Farrell. Somewhere over there is Ben Remington.
Hello.
Ben, did you enjoy your week/weekend? He asked so awkwardly.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. We ended up spending some time in the middle of nowhere, Wisconsin, this weekend to visit Roz's brother. So yeah, that was something.
It sure sounded like something.
How was the birthday extravaganza for yourself?
It was good. You and Roz missed out.
Yeah.
But it was good. It was fun. It's always nice to just get all of our friends together and have some beers and have a late night. So that's exactly what we did, and it was good. So I'm getting old though. That's the moral of this story.
Yeah, you're inching closer to that dirty 30.
Yeah, I'm on the doorstep. The Grim Reaper is just right over my shoulder.
Yeah. It's once you get there, it's surprisingly, I had horrific anxiety about turning 30, and once I got there, it was kind of like the most uneventful. It was like the ending of The Matrix. It was the most uneventful thing that ever really happened to me. So it was like, oh well. Now we're here, and that's it.
Well, I guess I have that to look forward to.
Yeah, it's really not that bad.
Oh. Speaking of not that bad, the Minnesota Wild had a pair of back-to-back games here in the last week, and they did not drop the ball one iota here. They win 3 out of the 4 games this week and vault back up into a playoff spot. I know it's very early, but just a kind of a point of reference, they were not in a playoff spot the last time we recorded. But Monday, the Wild kick off their week in Nashville, and this was their lone defeat of the week. Nashville defeats the Wild 4-2 as Nino Niederreiter misses a breakaway chance in the third period to tie the game, and then a few minutes later, the Preds get an empty net goal win 4-2. That was a game in which Alex Stalock started for the Minnesota Wild.
Yep.
Matt Dumba and Ryan Suter were your goal scorers, on which... Or wait, I apologize. Matt Dumba and Mikko Koivu were your goal scorers, not Ryan Suter. I'm thinking of a different game.
Yep.
Which we'll come to. But yeah, so there was your lone defeat, and not a whole lot of takeaways from that game because it's Nashville and they're a powerhouse. So
yeah, I think the Wild had a good showing in that game. We certainly had grown accustomed to them flat out crapping the bed for a couple of games, and that game, even though they lost, they at least showed up to play. They didn't get completely blown out of the water by, as you mentioned, an absolute powerhouse in Nashville. So I think that was encouraging and maybe a little bit of a foreshadowing for the week for them.
Then the next night, while back at home, they are playing the Arizona Coyotes. The Coyotes enter the game with just, I think it was 3 goals scored entering the game, and they get one in the first period. Brendan Perlini scores to give the Coyotes a lead, but goals from Mikael Granlund and Eric Stahl give the Wild a 2-1 win. Devan Dubnyk, 31 saves in another huge performance, and we'll come back to him in a little bit. But Darcy Kemper also a pretty good showing on the other side for the Coyotes, with the exception of the Granlund goal, which appeared to have caught him by surprise.
Yeah, I still haven't figured out what exactly happened on that goal, but I'm not sure anybody really knows what happened on that goal. It was just one of those fluky deals that I think the puck might have knuckled a little bit, but who knows. Take it, though.
Good old Russ Tyler knuckle puck. Then after a pair of days off, the Wild back on the road Friday night in Dallas, a place that has been not very kind to them in recent memory. But the Minnesota Wild are able to escape with a 3-1 win. All goals coming in the third period. Jason Spezza got the Stars on the board early in the third to give them the lead. But then Matt Dumba, Ryan Suter, and Zach Parise are the goal scorers that give the Wild the 3-1 win. Suter's game-winning goal, he shot the puck out of the far corner that went in off of the defender's, as he said, nut cup, which for some reason was redacted by local beat writers.
Yeah, I don't understand the ending of nut cup. I mean, jockstrap maybe might be. I don't know. I don't know how that's offensive at all.
Yeah, I think if you said jockstrap, that probably gets not redacted, but nut cup, I guess, is offensive. But
sure,
whatever. So that was kind of an impressive win. I liked how the Dallas Stars looked early on in the game. They had some really good penalty kills. I kind of like the way they play under new head coach Jim Montgomery. But again, man, Devan Dubnyk, 33 saves, 24 of which came in the second period, and he had so many in the second period that my computer almost imploded with the amount of GIFs that I was firing into the Twitter sphere.
Yeah, that second period was something else, man. That was an unholy whipping, that period. But I mean, that's where Devan Dubnyk basically won that game. Say what you want about Alex Stalock. Even if you're the biggest Alex Stalock fan on the planet, I don't think he survives that period without letting in a goal. And it just goes to show like how much Devan Dubnyk means to this team right now and how well he's playing.
And then to finish out the week, while back home Saturday night, they host the Tampa Bay Lightning. Tampa Bay gets out to a 3-1 lead over the home team, but then the Wild come roaring back thanks to goals by Marcus Foligno, Zach Parise, and Jason Zucker. The game goes to overtime, and Mikael Granlund with your winner, assisted by Charlie Coyle and your favorite goaltender, Alex Stalock.
Yeah, I saw some mention they liked the way that Stalock played the puck in the overtime, but despite what local radio personalities might say, I don't think that substituting him in during overtimes is going to be some kind of secret formula to winning all of the overtime games.
Hey, it could be. I mean, if he sets up guys for game-winning goals, you got to put him in there.
Well,
that was a joke.
I just don't see that happening on a long-term
Relax.
basis. But
I was joking. I'm just
busting
your...
I know. But
I'm busting your nut cup.
You can't say that. But yeah, I'm a little happy that Charlie Coyle is finding the score sheet. He had a little bit of a nice feed there to Granlund before Granlund, an absolute snipe, 5-hole on Vasilevsky. And Coyle scored earlier in that game with a goal that was very Coyle-esque, where he kind of picked up some garbage in front of the net, which is good to see. So I was a buyer on the big omelet because the stock price probably couldn't get any lower, but it's good to see him contributing.
Good to see Mikael Granlund get on the score sheet equally as well here in the last week. Not an overly good start by him, but
yeah.
A couple of goals and a couple of helpers here this week. So good to see him starting to get a little bit more active on the Wild score sheet. So
yep,
he is definitely a key cog here in the machine.
Yeah,
and then
for sure.
To recap again, the Minnesota Wild now sit at 4-2-2 as they have won 3 games in a row. They have 10 points. They own the last wild card spot in the Western Conference. 2 points clear of the Calgary Flames as we record here Sunday night. Again, early to be looking at the playoff picture, but just to give you a point of reference for where they are at currently. That is how they are doing. Also, that win in Dallas, the first win on the road for the Minnesota Wild this season. Their first in 3 attempts.
Right.
And then looking ahead to the new week, the Wild now have 4 days between games from Saturday to Thursday.
Of course.
Then they are at home against the Los Angeles Kings, and then at home Saturday against the Colorado Avalanche. That is literally the only games on the schedule this week.
Yeah, I mean, for some reason, and I don't know how we didn't catch this, but we thought that the beginning of the season schedule didn't look all that weird, but now that we're actually into it, it really feels kind of weird. Like, the double back-to-backs, I don't know that we've ever encountered that before, let alone in the first month of the season. And then now we've had 2 breaks of 5 days, and it's just kind of silly. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe there's a method to the madness, but it just feels weird.
Yeah. The Wild are going to get first 2 days off on that 4-day break, as Bruce Boudreau mentioned following the game against Tampa Bay that he was rewarding the players with Sunday and Monday off, so hopefully they can come out later in the week a little bit fresher, as he kind of acknowledging that this is an old team, so they need their rest.
Yeah, that was a stat that NBCSN kind of chose to beat the drum on a little bit on Friday night because, they don't know a whole lot about the team, obviously, as much as the local team would, but they mentioned the oldest team in the NHL stat a handful of times on the broadcast, and that's a bit of a knife twister, I gotta say.
Did you enjoy the back-to-back games this week on NBCSN?
I didn't get to see Tuesday nights because I was actually live in attendance, so I got to experience the awfulness of the live game experience. And then, the Friday night game, though, I did enjoy. I think it did a good job. Forget the exact crew they had running that night. I forget their names, but it was a pretty solid crew.
It was Gord Miller and AJ Malesko was in between the benches as the color commentary.
She did a good job, I thought, and it just kind of, and so doing that and then sifting through the highlights of Saturday night's game, I'm just further reminded on, I think Tony Pants does a decent enough job, but his goal call is just nails on a chalkboard to me. I can't party with his goal call. It's just so over the top, and it's just so, I don't know, not shrill, but it's just such a loud and drawn out goal call. I really am growing to despise it.
Well, solution is Wild need to quit scoring goals. So.
Well, that, and it'll help them avoid playing crowd chant as well. So
yes.
So no more goals.
So Devin Dubnyk has, pretty simply put, stolen quite a few wins for the Wild here early on in the season, and I did a little bit of research to see kind of where he stood statistically in the National Hockey League early on, and the stats are very incredible. Of goaltenders who have played at least 5 games, Devin Dubnyk's .944 save percentage is third in the National Hockey League. He only trails John Gibson at .949 and Semyon Varlamov .948. And then to further add to it, for goaltenders who have played a minimum of 200 minutes at 5-on-5 this season, Devin Dubnyk's .968 save percentage is best in the National Hockey League.
Yeah.
That is a very impressive start, especially the 5-on-5, where the Wild are going to need him most, because this isn't a young and fast team. They're older and a little more lead in the feet, so they need strong performances in goal at even strength. And if you can stay even at even strength and kind of let special teams kind of decide what wins a game, then you gotta feel okay.
Yeah.
Well, I take that back. The Wild power play never impresses, so that's a frightening thought.
Right. Yeah, I think that I think that it's great that Dubnyk's off to a hot start, and it's really, obviously, it's the only reason why this team is not a complete dumpster fire. But my concern is that he's been so inconsistent in the past. I worry about him going cold at some point, and him having used up all this hot streak right now, and I just hope that if he does go cold, that the team has turned around their play significantly, and I hope that. But I mean, the best solution would be for him to not go cold. I mean, if he could keep this up, or even only modestly correct his stats, only modestly regress during the season, that would be incredible, because that's exactly what this team would need to compete with teams that, for lack of a better term, have more talent, especially in the Central Division.
And he had a pretty similar start 2 years ago when Bruce Boudreau first took over the team. And in October, the Wild were really sluggish. But Devin Dubnyk's great play and goal, I think they won like 7 out of 10 games or something in that month of October. And, even though that their 5-on-5 play or special teams or anything was far from good, they had incredible goaltending, and that's kind of what I think of when I think of the start Devin Dubnyk is having. But
yeah,
just to kind of give you a point of reference for where he's at statistically here in the NHL, just another solid start, and he's going to need to. I'm not saying he's got to stay at 940, 44 save percentage, but keeping up in the 930s, you're going to give the Wild a pretty good chance to win a lot of hockey games.
Yep.
And that goes more to your point, and if he goes cold, then the Wild are really going to go cold.
Right.
How Dubnyk goes, the Wild go.
Yep.
And then the other thing I kind of wanted to hit on was, and I think we kind of hit on it last week when we were trying to look at positives for the Wild early on here in the season. Zach Parise in 8 games has 3 goals and 7 assists. So that's 10 points for those of you who are trying to do the quick math at home. And again, I've made my plus minus stance pretty clear on this podcast previously. But his plus minus is 7. It's pretty awesome.
That's
saying something.
Yeah.
So just an incredible start at the age of 34, and last year we kind of wondered, is this guy ever going to be right. Like, we kind of had a running joke last year that we were tagging him for an amnesty buyout after the next lockout. But, he must have dipped in the fountain of youth, man, because he just looks like he did from, 6-7 years ago. And he's just doing all those little scrappy things that he did so well that earned him that big contract. And it's been a sight for sore eyes.
Yeah, absolutely, and it makes you wonder how much that back injury was really affecting him leading up to the surgery that he had just before last season, because it had been something that had been going on for a while, and that's what we were told at least, and he just seems like he's very fresh and brand new at this point, and you kind of hope that continues, and you really hope that he can stay injury-free, because, man, I mean, you see this guy in the playoffs last year, and to start off the season this year, when this guy is healthy, he is, the heart and soul of this team, and there's really no debate to that. He might not be the unquestioned leader of the team, but he's definitely the heartbeat of the team.
I was trying to look up some quick stats for him on the fly as well, but you look at the NHL scoring list, and he's one of 27 players to hit 10 points already this year. So wow. I guess it's maybe not that impressive, but again, he's 34 years old, so give him
given
a
how
credit.
The team is playing around him, that's moderately impressive for him, because it's not like he's he's on a team that's lighting up the scoreboard every night, especially in that first 4 or 5 games. They definitely weren't doing anything impressive.
Hi, this is Bruce Boudreau. I don't see how in Toronto that they're calling it, unless it's a guy they just pulled in off the street that hasn't seen hockey before. If I were the fans, I'd be booing even more, because that, they pay good money for this.
If you want it, don't just think you want it. Go out and f***ing want it.
This week's Bruce Boudreau quote of the week comes in wake of the Minnesota Wild win over the Tampa Bay Lightning Saturday night. Boudreau mentioned that he was giving the Wild Sunday and Monday off just to kind of keep them fresh. But then in the piece on The Athletic from Michael Russo, the following was offered. Boudreau joked that after a tough first period against Tampa Bay that saw the Wild trail by 2, he thought about canceling the gift he planned to bestow on his team. Quote, "When they came back, I thought it'd be pretty hard not to follow through on what I wanted to do."
But you don't want to give them any more time off, because then they would make even more babies.
Maybe
I
they
get
should
it.
take those nut cups with them in their leisure activities. Just keep them on.
Yeah, I get it. I'm married now. I understand the deal, but maybe they should be taking those nut cups home.
So many kids, man. I think I sent this to you in a text. I don't think I tweeted it to you, but I think I joked that the Minnesota Wild are just basically begging to be sponsored by Gerber this season.
Yeah.
I'm actually genuinely surprised they're not, but what can you do, I guess.
Soon enough we'll see. Something in the game will be sponsored by Pampers.
Well, there you go. The Alex Stalock crap the bed portion of the game by Pampers. Whoops, I said that aloud.
Brought to you by Pampers.
Actually, that would have been a good Darcy Kemper promotion.
Yeah, he was big on that. Nobody benefited more from a change of scenery than Darcy Kemper.
Nobody had to change the diapers more than when Darcy Kemper was in goal, just peeing down his leg. Anyway.
Yeah.
This is a weird podcast. I apologize.
Yeah. No, it's what happens. This is podcasting after dark.
Nut cups and Pampers, and I've changed. Maybe I
We haven't even
getting
gotten to
old.
the good stuff yet.
Yeah. Well. All right. That was the Bruce Boudreau quote of the week.
Kaprizov across for Gusev. Kaprizov shoots and he scores! He scores! The Russians are golden in South Korea.
Next, we find ourselves in Kirill Watch. This is where every week we are highlighting Minnesota Wild prospect Kirill Kaprizov on what he is doing over in Russia, playing for CSKA Moscow. Kaprizov now up to 6 assists and 9 goals on the season. That gives him 15 points for those trying to do the quick math at home. In 20 games, that is second on the team. He only trails Mikhail Grigorenko, who has 20 points on the team. So he had a goal. We tweeted it out from our podcast Twitter account, GATG Wild Podcast. Basically, anytime we see him score a goal, we scan the internet, and then we quote tweet it with hashtag KirillWatch. And I guess what I learned this week is his nickname is the Shrimp.
Yeah, I've seen it before too, and I mean he's not a huge guy, but I don't think he's all that small. But there must be something else to that.
Maybe that's another Nut Cup joke.
Oh my god! Oh, Giles.
This is really coming off the rails.
It really is.
No, that's not it, I'm sure. But yeah, so that's your Kirill Watch, because there's no coming back from that. So, Ben, do you have another Wild prospect you wanted to highlight this week?
I do. This Wild prospect is kind of a prospect, kind of not really a prospect, but Luke Kunin returned to action with the Iowa Wild recently, and on Friday night against the Texas Stars, not to be confused with the Dallas Stars, similar to the Iowa Wild, not to be confused with the Minnesota Wild, Kunin had a goal and an assist. So it's good to see him get back on the score sheet. He now has 2 points in the 3 games that he's been with them. So hopefully he can kind of build some momentum here and kind of play his way out of Iowa. Really would like to see him up this season, would really like to see him contributing this season. That should be hopefully we see that. It'd be nice to get some production out of one of those young guys, you know, the Greenways, the Eriksson X, the Kunins of the world. It'd be nice to see them make some contributions.
It would just be nice to even just see him get in the lineup for Minnesota somehow and just inject some life into the bottom 6. I mean, woof.
Yeah, I know the fourth line scored on Saturday night, but as we talked about before the season, and it's not like it was a surprise to anybody, but that fourth line is just not anything special. And so, yeah, really hoping that Kunin can come in, and not that he would be a fourth line guy necessarily, but anything, if we even get some production, some more consistent production of the third line, we'll take what we can get.
Yeah, anything is better than what we're getting right now. And, yeah, hopefully it doesn't take Luke Kunin long to get recalled. An injury to Matt Hendricks early in the week forced the Wild to recall Matt Reed from Iowa. And if you got to think any more injuries come on to forwards, then Luke Kunin, it won't be too long to get a recall. So that is your prospect update for the week. So good to see Luke Kunin doing well.
Yep.
Yeah, I've been scoreboard watching since opening night. So I don't know if that counts or anything, but I think hockey players are hockey players, and they want to see where they are, and they know how close everything is. They know that every game is vital.
Next on our list is the Central Intelligence, just basically our Central Report. What are we calling it again? I don't remember.
You started with Central Intelligence, and I don't know where we've gone from there. I'm not. That's entirely up to you.
I thought we thought of something better last week, but maybe I'm wrong.
I don't recall.
Yeah, the last week's just kind of been a haze. So let's be honest.
Yeah. A lot of drinking. Sure.
Basically, in this segment, we just look at the Central Division and kind of look at where the Wild are at and how the opposition is doing. Nashville Predators, as of Sunday night, lead the Central Division with 14 points. They have won 5 games in a row, their last of which beating down on the Edmonton McDavids 3-0. And then you have the Colorado Avalanche, 5-1-2 to open the season, including a stellar 3-1-1 mark away from the can, also known as Pepsi Center. And then you have Winnipeg at 11 points, and then the Chicago Blackhawks, Minnesota Wild tied with 10 points, and then you have the Dallas Stars and St. Louis Blues tied with 6 points. And the Stars have lost 3 in a row, the last of which was on Friday night against the Minnesota Wild. So not a good start for Jim Montgomery as the Stars head coach, and then we see the Fightin' Yos floundering there at the bottom.
Yeah, I don't want to say it warms my heart at all, because that's maybe a little bit cruel, but hate to say we told you so.
And the Blackhawks are enjoying some great scoring still from Jonathan Toews, who continues to impress here early on in the season. Patrick Kane, 11 points. Alex DeBrincat, 11 points. And then you've got Toews with 10 points, who, as we saw, funnily enough, on Twitter this last week, had just 1 goal, matched his goal total from last season already.
Yeah.
That was a joke. It was a picture of him wearing a shirt that said 1 goal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and they also just got Corey Crawford back on Thursday, so that's I think I don't know that you can understate how much that means to this team, especially when their backup goalie is Cam Ward. So very, very big. I know they had a down season last year, and it was easy to count them out because their defensive core is kind of a laughingstock. But there's still plenty of talent up front, and Corey Crawford is plenty good enough to make that team dangerous.
Yep, he is. And I thought Ben Bishop looked good for Dallas on Friday night as well. So once you got to think, like, if the Stars can start putting up goals and like they should. You think they'd be all right with Ben Bishop there in the pipes. Dallas only has 19 goals in 7 games this season, which is fewest in the Central Division.
That's just baffling considering the firepower they have.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they were ready to score like 6 on Friday night, but
that's true.
Devin Dubnyk was.
They ran into a goaltending buzzsaw in Dubnyk on Friday night.
They ran into Jake Allen of the 2016 playoffs.
True.
Yeah. So that is your Central Division report, and on to our last segment of the week, our jerseys.
Here to start the third period. What team is this? It's not Team USA. Oh, yes, it is. They've got on new uniforms. They're wearing the logo of the Duck. I've never seen this before.
So we are kind of switching it up with jersey topics a little bit this year, just taking a look at a lot of different things now. It doesn't necessarily have to be hockey related, but it still can be. And Ben, what is on the docket this week?
Tonight we are talking about retiring numbers.
Why are we doing that?
Because I want to hear you cry, Giles.
Well, sadly for you, all my tears they've been let out. I did that earlier today. I guess to clarify here, are we going to talk about numbers that have been retired or should have been retired or both? Just whatever.
Yeah, all encompassing. I think that it's. We'll talk about the practice as a whole, and maybe some snubs as your boy was for quite some time, and maybe some that are a little bit like one that we can think of pretty much immediately.
For those who are confused as to what we were talking about, Paul Kariya's number retired Sunday night by the Anaheim Ducks. A long, vastly overdue process, and it was wonderful.
Did you get to see the ceremony yet, or are you going to have to catch it later?
I did. I was.
That's good.
I was glued to my TV at 5:15 when it was supposed to start, and I was getting frantic because NHL TV didn't put it on until 5:30. But I guess that was a little bit on the delayed start that they had. But it was great. It was probably one of the more lighter number retirement ceremonies. I mean, you usually see just a lot of touching speeches, and there was a little bit of that in there, but just a lot of humor in there, which I kind of found to be a little bit refreshing. A lot of some behind the scenes stories, and then they had Steve Ruchin, who was Paul Kariya's and Teemu Selanne's center for a significant portion of time. And he was just basically, the gist of his speech was, I was ignored for all these years.
How the hell did I have to score more points playing between these two guys?
And he did a really good. It was all humor based. It was all in good fun. So I found that to be pretty well done. And even Paul himself got on stage and he took a shot at himself. He said he was the most high maintenance player in the NHL, and then he thanked the equipment managers who helped him throughout his career.
Yeah.
And then I found it really cool. One of the St. Louis Blues writers said the last time he had looked, there was still a bin in one of the traveling equipment tubs for the Blues that had Kariya's name on it because it was just for something that only he needed. So that kind of speaks to the high maintenance that he touched on. But I don't know. It was great. It was sad that I couldn't be there. Just funds, traveling a lot is expensive, so you can only afford to do that so much. And we have already booked our trips to Vegas in January, which I tweeted out from the Twitter account. We're less than 90 days to now, which is exciting. But I don't know. It's closure. That's what also this is. It's a kind of righting a wrong. So that's great to see, and I can officially acknowledge the Anaheim Ducks as a good standing National Hockey League team once again.
Yeah, you really did kind of beat this drum a lot, and I don't blame you. I mean, him being one of your favorite players. I remember you on Twitter a lot, egging on the Ducks to finally retire that number that should have been retired a long time ago. And obviously, it takes the players, consent as well. So that there's a lot of reasons behind that, but. Still, it is nice to see that. And along those lines, just to kind of kick off, the topic. I don't think there's a whole lot of snubs out there, but he was certainly one of them for a long time, and I don't understand how teams can't just come to a better, why teams put off stuff like that for so long. What took the Ducks so long to mend that bridge and to right that wrong? I mean, luckily they never let anyone else wear that number during that time, but it's just so weird to me that it took that long.
Yeah, I think the last one who wore number 9 was Bobby Ryan, and I think they kind of had it in mind ever since that hey, we're gonna get this retired, and and then it kind of speaks more to the unique situation of Paul Kariya and the Ducks, and
right,
as we learned last year when he was honored for his Hall of Fame induction, Kind of the last holdup on it was, he needed to just kind of give his blessing to that. So,
yeah,
which he did.
Yeah.
So, and I guess to shift gears, like, do you have anyone that just comes right to mind on number retirement? This can even broaden to other sports. It doesn't necessarily have to be hockey related, but
sure.
If you have a hockey one, great.
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily. I don't know if it's absolutely crucial, but it's a little bit weird. We saw this whole controversy with Josh Ho-Sang wearing number 66 last season, and now he's not anymore. But I don't know. Do you think that Mario Lemieux's number should be retired league-wide? I mean, Gretzky's isn't, and maybe Gretzky's should be, but maybe that's the conversation. Should 99 be retired league-wide, and should 66 be retired league-wide? I don't know. I tend to think that 99 should be. And 66, I'm a little bit more kind of back and forth about it, even though it is really kind of weird if someone else wears it.
That one I haven't really given much thought to, but now that I kind of think of it, I'm inclined to agree there. It is weird when you see somebody else put on number 66 and it's not Mario Lemieux, and I think maybe more that the fact that hasn't and probably never will happen at this point is the fact that Mario Lemieux had a lot of health issues, and it kind of hampered his ability to play, and it took away some of his best years. And
yeah,
and honestly, it's sometimes I just sit there and go, man, if I had to pick between Lemieux and Gretzky, and you get them both in their best years, like I'm picking Lemieux. It's a difficult decision. Let's put that there first. But Gretzky was great, and there's no doubt about it. But man, I think Lemieux did a lot more with less.
Yeah, no, I would agree.
He did play on some good teams, but I think the kind of the quality there was not as great after those 2 Stanley Cups that they won. So
sure,
outside of Jagr, of course.
Yeah, and his number obviously will go up soon, but I think, and that kind of leads me, I guess, in the next topic is because it would be so. I mean, could you imagine? 66 was weird enough, and I'm with you on Lemieux probably being better, in the short term than Gretzky, but Wayne Gretzky is still Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah,
and I mean, anyone else wearing 99 would not only be weird, it might be downright offensive.
It's criminal.
Right, and not that I'm big on leagues retiring numbers across the board. I think only Major League Baseball has done it with Jackie Robinson, and that's great. And I 100% agree with that. I think that was a fantastic idea. But, I mean, are we going to wait until Gretzky dies to retire 99, or is it just kind of an unspoken thing that nobody else can wear it? As of right now, I think it's only retired in Edmonton. I don't think it's in LA as well, obviously. But it's not even retired in New York where he played, or St. Louis where he played, which might be a little frivolous. But I don't know. I feel like you retire a number when no one else is going to live up to it, or no one else can really kind of it isn't right that someone else. I mean, the whole thing with the Minnesota Vikings in '84, I think, is downright ridiculous as well.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. And I don't know, I'm just trying to scan for or just think of other numbers that should be retired that maybe haven't been. And I think one very much locally that comes to mind is Kevin Garnett.
Yes.
And that is probably more of a byproduct of his relationship with Glenn Taylor, who, as we continue to learn, is maybe not overly great at running a basketball franchise.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't know, like, has Chris Chelios had his number retired by anyone in the NHL? Like, I'm thinking of, like, other hockey players who
No.
maybe haven't had it, but I don't think Chris Chelios has had his number retired. I don't know.
Yeah. John
Also-
LeClaire has not had his number retired with the Flyers. That's a little bit weird to me. I don't know. There's a handful here and there that are kind of head scratching, but I think by similar, to change gears just a tad. I'm scrolling through and I'm looking at our second favorite website, NHLuniforms.com here, and they have the retired numbers. And the Florida Panthers have number 37 retired for their first owner, Wayne Huizenga, which is really dumb. I feel like not quite as dumb as the Wild having the number 1 retired.
Yeah, let's unretire that since we're unretiring numbers here.
Yeah, and like I said, I feel like you retire a number when someone is so legendary that it really makes you feel genuinely uncomfortable when someone else is wearing that number. You know what I mean? Like it's not something that someone can live up to wearing that number, the same number as that legend for that team. And the number 37, as arbitrary as that is for the Panthers, like, why would that need to be retired? And the number 1 for the Wild fans, I understand what they were going for, but it's the most ridiculous thing that I think I've ever heard of. Like, you boast your fans are number 1 in the league before they literally have even witnessed a hockey game. And it's so silly. It's so typical of how the Wild approach their marketing and all that stuff. But I don't know. There's a few examples of that, and I don't understand it.
I can't believe that the Arizona Coyotes haven't retired numbers for legends Chris Pronger and Pavel Datsyuk.
Yeah, that's there's plenty of examples like that. So I guess I'm reading here that Gretzky's number is retired league-wide.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, but it's not displayed by anybody then.
Right. I mean,
Okay,
it would
that
be
makes
weird.
more sense.
It would be weird to go into XL Energy Center and see a 99 banner hanging there with the Wild colors.
Sure. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. I wasn't aware. I had heard that I heard something to that effect, but I didn't know that they actually did that. And of course, so that explains why nobody ever wears it, because nobody should ever wear it. So
No.
Good on them.
So, any other number retirements that you're wanting to touch on?
Well,
Because now that Paul Kariya is in the rafters of the Arrowhead Pond, I think I'm going to start the Retire 21 campaign for Kevin Garnett. He's kind of the last one that was of my favorite players when I was a kid. He's kind of the last one that hasn't had that honor yet. And
yeah,
I mean, we all know that there's definitely a banner going up at Target Center at some point. It's just that some point is probably going to be when Glenn Taylor is no longer with us.
No kidding. Yeah, I think Randy Moss is the same thing for me. I just don't understand why that hasn't happened yet. You know how much I despise the Vikings, but it's really downright silly considering what he means to the fans of this team. But yeah, just to kind of, I just totally lost my train of thought there.
Oh, another one I have locally that will probably come in the near future is Joe Mauer.
Yes, absolutely. Yep. Christ, if he announces a retirement this winter, that could happen next season.
Yeah.
You think? I mean, it'll happen quickly.
It would be dumb on the Twins' part to not do that immediately, but the Twins don't exactly do things smart sometimes either. So
Oh, I had my thought. So along those lines, just since we're a Minnesota Wild podcast, and I believe we may have touched on this very briefly before, but who do you think gets their number retired for the Minnesota Wild? Who do you think is the first actual real player? Is probably Koivu. It's got to be, right?
Yes. Somebody actually replied to my tweet when Paul Kariya's number was retired, and it was just wait. And it said something like, wait until the Wild retire their number 9, and then I was like, yeah, I can see that. I get it. He's been their guy forever. But then I just instantly thought of all the pitchforks that would come out for that. So. No, you're right. You gotta wonder too, and there's still a long time remaining to be seen on this. If Parise and Suter get into that realm as well, I don't know that they do, but it's a possibility. I mean, if they win something big, I think certainly. If they somehow find a way to win a Stanley Cup, obviously, I think that helps a lot. But it'll be interesting to see if Koivu gets retired, because he never really has won anything big with this team. And if that does happen, I think he will, and it'll be interesting to see if Parise and Suter join him. I mean, I think Ryan Suter is a good bet. He seems like the type who will play for a good duration of his contract, and play effectively. So when you're gonna be playing for 9, 10, maybe even 11 years with the Wild, that can probably add up to his number getting retired. And I will also point out at this juncture that as we record, Zach Parise is already 5th in Minnesota Wild history in points.
Jeez.
And Ryan Suter is 7th in Minnesota Wild history in points. And
wow.
You get more seasons out of these guys, and actually this point list is incredible, because you have, let's see, Koivu, Parise, Granlund, Suter, Coyle, Spurgeon, Niederreiter. So what is that? 6 out of 10 players on the top 10 points all-time list in Wild history are active players.
Yeah. Just means this is the best time to be a Wild fan.
Or maybe it just means the first 10 years under Jacques Lemaire were neutral zone trap hockey.
Yeah, that's what that means. Yeah, that's more accurate, yeah.
Just imagine what Marian Gaborik would have done if Jacques Lemaire had just kind of let him go.
Oh, my God. Or the injuries, too. I mean, that guy lost so much of the prime of his career.
I think that can do it. I think we touched. Oh, nope, I lied. We have one last quick thing we have to grind on here. We didn't. This has been something we have. I don't know. It's been for like a months now that we've had this discussion, and it is a food discussion, and I keep forgetting it, but I just remembered here because I was thinking about breakfast in the morning. So thankfully, that saved it. But a food debate that you and I have is breakfast after the morning. Breakfast food after the morning.
Sure.
All right. Well, as Jamie walks by, she gives me a thumbs down. So
I can always count on her for good decisions.
No.
Well, and this was spurred on by Travis Yost's tweet.
Yeah. About
how terrible breakfast food is, and if you don't know who Travis Yost is, he's a national hockey writer who, I think he's got pretty good takes. He's a pretty smart guy.
Yeah. Hockey takes are very smart.
Yeah, but his ever living bit on Twitter is very possibly the worst food takes on the internet, and that's saying something. Like that's a hell of a mountain to clear, and I think Travis Yost clears that mountain on a regular basis, and he keeps reinventing it too. And so you sent me a tweet that he sent out this past week where he basically damned all breakfast food and how awful it was. which deeply offends both of us because we are both fans of breakfast food. But I just so that's how this kind of kicked off. You are a fan of breakfast food to the point where you will eat it at any times of the day, whereas I guess my stance on breakfast food is I enjoy it, and I enjoy it so much that I want to keep it rare. Kind of like how I really enjoy Christmas, but I don't want to start celebrating it before Thanksgiving. I want to keep things special. I think if you dilute things, like by eating breakfast for dinner, that makes it less special to me. I don't know. That's my feeling on it.
Does Roz know you want to keep the lid on Christmas?
Oh, she feels the same way. Yes.
Oh, okay.
We are both immense Christmas fans, but we both feel like it should begin the day after Thanksgiving.
Okay, I actually agree with that. Don't start playing Christmas music around me till after Thanksgiving.
Yeah, exactly.
Breakfast, I'm gonna put this out there. I don't have breakfast for dinner often, or after afternoon. It's just I'm not opposed to it. If I am feeling it, then I have it because it's good and I enjoy it. Like, I love breakfast food every morning, and if I so want it again during the day, then yeah, I'm going to have it because it is the best meal of the day, hands down. So, if I want to have an omelet for dinner, then so be it.
Yeah, that's just it's almost sacrilegious to me. I love me some omelets, but I feel very weird enjoying any kind of breakfast food. I have Roz will do it all the time, and I've had other a girlfriend before who would eat cereal any time of the day, and I just found it so bizarre.
See, cereal. I don't know. I'm at the point in my life where cereal isn't my breakfast. I almost consider cereal to just kind of be like a snack at this point.
Really?
Yeah. If I'm gonna have breakfast, I'm gonna have pancakes or eggs or bacon or something. Cereal is something that probably goes into more of I can eat that at any point in the day, and it's I almost don't even consider it breakfast food.
Oh man, see, I 100% think of it as breakfast food. To the point where I even feel weird eating it too close to noon. I don't know if I can even have breakfast. If I just wake up, I can probably have it, around 11 o'clock if I wake up that late. But if I've been up for a few hours, I don't feel like I can have any kind of breakfast food. Most notably cereal.
Breakfast food is wonderful. Have it whenever you want. Don't limit it to a portion of the day.
Keep it special once a day. That's my stance.
All right, we're going to keep it special for the listeners, and we're going to get the hell out of here.
That's a good idea.
On that lovely note, we can be found on Twitter at Giles Farrell, at Ben Remington. As I said before, the podcast Twitter account is at GATG Wild Podcast. We contribute to a website called Zone Coverage. You can find them at zonecoverage.com. You can find this otherwise fine podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio. If you do listen on iTunes, leave us a rating. We do like that. It helps boost the show. We also have a Facebook, facebook.com/GATG Wild Podcast. And we do have a YouTube channel where we also do some pre- and post-game videos. The YouTube is Giles and the Goalie. Search for us there. And that's also where our podcast can be found as well. So that will do it for us this week. Ben and I will be back next week after another lovely 2-game week for the Minnesota Wild. So hopefully we can unearth some topics to talk about then. So we will catch you next week.
Later.
It's not resiliency. You're making it sound like we're good. That's all. I'm done.